Celebrating the Nintendo Wii U coming out, I thought I would review all of Nintendo's main console systems, or most of them at least. Today I'll be doing the NES. Now this is probably the first successful Nintendo system that came out, and let's take a look. Cosmetically, I can't really say much about it. It just has two controller slots, but other than that, it's just a gray box, really. There's nothing special about it. They didn't make a super flashy logo, and it's not even pale white, it's just gray. The red is pretty nice, and other than that, there's really not much to talk about cosmetically. You can see all the rivets there, but it's pretty much just a box. It's kind of heavy too, compared to most systems nowadays. To load up a game, you just open it, slide it in the slots, push it in, push it down. Like the top-loading NES later definitely had a better system with that. This protects from dust, maybe a little better than the other one since it has a little shield thing on it. But that's just kind of opinion, I guess. Well, probably not. But then there's two power buttons. There's two controller ports, and they actually work pretty decently. Let me grab a controller quick. First off, you have the two controller ports located in the front. And unlike the Famicom, or at least the early one, you can pull them out and keep them in. The Famicom's the Japanese version. It's a very simple controller as well. You can see mine's kind of yellowed. But you just have the A button, which often jumps, B, which is special move, start, which either starts the game or pauses it, select, which usually moves up and down on the menus, and you can see the normal D-pad or pad. Actually, like, I do like this controller because any bigger and it would have felt like a huge, well, rectangle in your hand, and it would have felt very comfortable. But at least for my size hands, it works great because I can reach all the buttons really easy. It fits in your hand very nicely. I think any bigger, it would have been very uncomfortable. Any smaller, I would have been kind of pressing up on all the buttons. But Nintendo really kept this design afterwards, and there's not very many. There's like no systems to this day that don't have most of these key features instead of like a joystick. Nintendo was also compatible with zappers and other such Nintendo accessories. Let me just get that out of there. Those would also plug into the controller port, which makes sense. Even things up to like the GameCube would do that. I'm not going to show off this gun that much, but you can see how it just fits in there. Most of their accessories, at least the ones I have, work decent. Of course, not as great as the rest of the system, kind of gimmicky, but they work. But next off, let's check out the plain Nintendo cartridge. This is one you probably all have, or at least if you have the system, you'll probably have. Super Mario Duck Hunt. You can see the games, they're all, at least most of them, if they're the legal, or not legal cartridges, but licensed cartridges will come like this. It'll have the caution label on the back, then it'll just be a gray box. It is actually pretty neat, you could say, having a cartridge, but it's really big, which is something that they improved on with the rest of them. Really tall, really lumpy. They still work really nicely for storage. At least they didn't make them some weird shape. So they fit nicely on a shelf. You can put them, usually I put them downwards like this, and slide them in so you can see the end label, which is something nice that they put on there. Mario, usually a very nice sticker on there. Sometimes kind of confusing, but pretty nice right there. You can often get dust jackets for them too, which are actually pretty nice so you don't get the bottom dusty. Otherwise, you'd have to constantly blow them out, and that gets kind of annoying. They're actually nicely made dust jackets, and they feel pretty nice. A little cheap, but at the same time, nothing terrible. Now, next off, let's test out this console. There are countless games on the NES, great ones, hard ones, disappointing ones, and terrible ones. The controls all vary, and I won't go into great detail because it depends on the game, but it's capable of great accuracy or it can really suck. Again, it depends on the game. Compared to the future games, the music isn't great, but it did spawn such classics as the Mario theme. The graphics are all 8-bit, but they range from great to just disturbingly bad. Of course, graphic-wise, you can't beat the games of today, but it was definitely a step above what Atari had to offer. One problem you have with this system is you can't plug it into all TVs because it screws into the back, but I believe the top loader you can plug into the front, or most clone consoles you can as well. This is probably one of the most cloned systems out there. I've tried some clones at game stores and stuff, and they work fine, but you might as well just fork over the extra few bucks to get one used. What the system really comes down to is it's just a fun experience, it's classic, and there are countless games to explore, and it's just plain good. The graphics were later improved in the Super Nintendo, but nonetheless, this is one of those good systems that gamers or other collectors really need. As I said, these are really cheap systems. I don't advise you go the clone route, but if you're curious about one of them, they're like 20 bucks on eBay or other shopping websites. Top loaders are another option. These were made by Nintendo as well, but they're more expensive and could run you around 70 bucks. While the old classic NES can cost you like 40 bucks with a game and usually a controller and often a duck hunt gun too. If you want to, you can get them even cheaper if you check stores, pawn stores, even garage sales. It's such a common console, you can get them dirt cheap almost anywhere. I'd advise, I got mine for like $20, so I'd advise just checking around before you go the clone route or something. But overall, I'd have to give this system an 8 out of 10.